But yeah, all good.
And that's exactly what we're going through right now. Is everything's turning green and it's beautiful, but I thought we were going to have a like a canoe or something just to get up here to the driveway.
Yeah, it floods real quick in Nashville. I don't know if it's the same way in Tulsa, but in Nashville, it'll rain for an afternoon, and you got flood warnings and crazy stuff, man. Crazy
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, it's, late spring, it's around here, it's, it floods or,
Hmm.
twisters and well, you guys have the same thing, pretty much floods, twisters and all that kind of stuff too. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you get it. So, well, and listen again, thank you so much for kind of
Yes.
jumping in with us here. And we are going to get right to it. We just, Crowned Heads has been just really taken off and it's just been absolutely fantastic. So I know Sean has a few starter questions, kind of get us going, and then
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. Thank you again so much for jumping on with us. And again, like I kind of said before we hit record, you've got an awesome team around you. Thank you so much to Jake and Miguel and Danny. Those guys have been now, and I'm sure you probably have a bigger team than that. Those are just the three that I kind of
It's
have.
just them.
Oh, it
They
is.
they do
Okay.
they sell, they pack, they ship, they
is
do
that
everything.
right?
No, it's
Wow.
wrong. I'm kidding. No,
That's
I'm
awesome.
totally kidding.
But
No. To your point, though, all jokes aside, we do have a great team, and been very fortunate, as I said before we got on air, that we just have surrounded ourselves with really good people that all have bought into the whole ethos of Crowned Heads, and so
yeah.
it makes working quote unquote very much of a pleasure and a joy and a privilege to work with those
So,
guys.
so Sean, if it's all right with you, I kind of want to work. I want you to. So, were you out at the Premium Cigar Association this time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so can you give us what, if any, highlights from that? That's been very recent, event there, and just wanted to know if you had anything of real, that really stuck out to you at that point.
Listen, I love New Orleans to begin with. So going into the show, I was already looking forward to it because I have kind of a personal connection with doing the show in New Orleans. Because in 2010, my girlfriend at the time, was now my wife, that was the first trade show. She came and supported me, and we hung out. We had a great time. And then 5 years later,
Wow!
also at New Orleans, our daughter was born.
Oh
So
wow.
Wow!
during the trade show. And so this year, 2025, we were able to go back to New Orleans as a family and experience that together. So that was like the highlight for me, even going into it. So the rest of it was like icing on the cake. It was a great show. We were actually short staffed by two people, but our sales were up 37%. So if you
Awesome.
look at it from
Wow!
a financial thing, yeah, it was a success. But I think more so than anything, going into the show, we were more concerned with not only launching two new brands, one under the Oz family umbrella and one under the Crown Heads umbrella, but also the new rebrand for existing Crown Head cigars. And so the feedback was over the top, positive, phenomenal. It was just we're looking forward to getting it on the shelves. So yeah.
Well, I will tell you, we actually were able to get PCA certified through the podcast. So if you will be there next year in New Orleans, so if you're still
Fantastic.
two hands, we'll go ahead and throw our hats in the ring.
Oh
We'll be
my
more than
gosh!
happy to help you.
I'll be happy to come over to your table and just, like, whatever, hand out brochures or stickers or whatever.
But
Man, it's a fun show. I mean, it's a lot of work. I'll be honest
yeah,
with you.
Yeah.
It's just like the only thing I can equate it to. It's like if somebody put you in the blender, turned it on liquefy, and poured you out like at the end
oh
of
wow,
each day. I mean, because literally, like from 9 to 6 each day, it was nonstop. And the only thing that I personally saw, other than our booth, was the bathroom and back. The bathroom was right there. I'd walk, go to the bathroom, come back. I never got to really kind of go around and see my colleagues, my friends,
yeah,
and everything.
Oh
It was
wow!
a
Because
very busy
it's so
show.
busy.
yeah.
It
Wow!
was very busy. This was the first year that I actually put stuff in my phone, like meetings, because typically in the past I was just like, look, I'll be there. I don't book appointments. Just come grab me, and if I'm available, I'm very much non-formal that way. But this year was exceptionally busy, and so Miguel actually had me booked with a lot of meetings, and I think I had over the course of 3 days, I believe 18 meetings with
Oh,
clients, and then I had to do media in between it all, the
yeah.
interviews and things like that. So I mean, literally just did not have a moment to breathe, a moment to eat. I grab a bottle of water and just go. So
Yeah, and I saw it down with I think you did something with Bovita. You sat down and did like a
Yeah,
little impromptu interview or media with them and stuff. So it looked
I
like a
was able to do
beautiful
that.
setup.
It's an amazing setup. I was just like, I was taken aback that I was like, man, what are you guys doing that we're not? Because your booth is 5 times the size of ours, and you're selling these little humidipack things. But
Yeah.
now I've known Tim and Jeff for a long time, and they're great guys, and uh, we have a great relationship. I'm so proud of their success. They've had a huge success, but also like every time I need something, we keep each other on scholarship. I'll send them cigars, and then they'll send me like 5,000 bovitas, and we'll use that.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Um, so I do have to kind of inadvertently thank Justin, the owl and cigars on Instagram.
Yeah.
He had taken a picture of, I believe, of you and Tim, and
Hmm.
he had posted it and said something like it was his first selection into Cigar Aficionado magazine. And so I was congratulating him, and somehow that message got to you. And that's how we started having
Okay.
conversations back and forth. And so it was just like a happy accident, if you will. And so
The
I'm
beauty
very,
of social media.
yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And again, thank you again so much for always taking the time to respond and answer my questions.
It's
And
my
again, for
pleasure.
sending us these beautiful, I love the rebranding and your new logo.
Thank
I
you.
mean, can we just talk about that for a second? Not too much a difference, but just enough that, was that, now, did you design that?
So a year ago at the trade show in Vegas last year, we were already talking behind the scenes of the necessity of a rebrand. And then just by happenstance, we met a gentleman during the show, gentleman by the name of Juan Carlos Fondier, who's in the Dominican Republic. And we got to talking and everything. And he says, this is what I do. And he's been in the business for like 20 years. Great artist, great creative. And I said, well, when I get back to town, maybe we should talk. And so we did. One thing led to another, and we signed an agreement with them, and we went to work. And it literally took a complete year of really fine tuning, first and foremost, the logo, which was the
Uh-huh.
primary logo, which wasn't too much of a departure from the logo that we had before. And then how would we, put that into each brand? And then how do you like keep the integrity of the current brand without too much of a rebrand where people don't realize there's a connection, on and on and on. Then we started working on the boxes, the packaging, and all of that. So it was a lot of work. And when I say a year, it was literally a year of, we probably have 2 to 3 Zoom meetings a week, every
Oh,
week.
wow.
Some
Man.
weeks, some weeks maybe one, but it was continual. Like just the logo itself. Like Juan Carlos would give me like 5 versions. I would no, I don't like any. Okay, here's another 5. Okay, we like that one. Okay, we'll take that one and give me 10 versions of that. Then we'd pick one, and then we take. It just was. It was a tedious process, but I've never met somebody with more patience than
Wow.
him. He never got like, well, just tell me what you want. It was
Yeah.
just always we were working and just chipping away at it. That's all I can think of. It's like it's a block of stone, and you just keep chipping away and chipping away,
Right.
and eventually you get to what you want. So it was a lot of back and forth, but I myself and Juan Carlos worked on it.
And so, and you guys, and I was reading on one of the packaging, I saw a picture of, I believe you posted it. It says, so you started Crown Heads in 2011. Is that
Mm.
Crown Heads in 2011? Is that correct?
That is correct. We actually announced the formation of the company with my former business partner, Mike Conder, who just retired like a month ago.
Yeah.
He's still a consultant. We hired him on to remain as a consultant. So we call him our consigliere. And so Mike and I we launched Crown Heads, and we announced it in February of 11.
Uh-huh.
And then from that point, we started visiting factories, talking to existing relationships, new potential relationships to figure out who was going to make the cigars. Fast forward to November of 11, that's when we shipped 4 kicks with Ernesto Perez Carrillo, and that's what started everything.
Wow. And before we get too much in this, I wanted to compliment you, because I know when we were kind of talking, we've got a nice period of time with you, but I understand we've got to get. I really appreciate and respect that you have your cigar time and your family time. I just think that's an awesome thing, and
Thank you.
I again appreciate you getting on with us, and I think that's very respectful of someone to be able to have their business time and their family time, because a lot of people, they lose track of that family time, and I think it's important for that. I've got 4 kids myself, and so
Wow.
I always appreciate, and I have a very tedious stressful job, and so there's that family time is always very important. So I just wanted.
Yeah, I've been told I'm good at compartmentalization, meaning that like when I'm at work, I'm 100%,
Right.
dedicated here. But when I go home, I take that hat off and I try to be a husband and a father. And
Right.
Yeah.
sometimes I'm
Right. Yeah.
good,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes I'm not so good. But I mean, it's not that difficult. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for me that I've passed by just because when I started all of this, I believe in having like a value system set up, and I
Yeah.
have my priorities. Literally, I have my priorities like 1, 2, 3, 4, and if this doesn't fit in with that, then it makes the decision easier. So
Yeah.
it's funny. Like I ran into Eric from Cigar Dojo, and he interviewed me or something at the PCA, and I said I must be like one of the only guys that's never been on your show as a brand owner. And he laughed and he's like, well, truth be told, it's just like they always tape so late on like a
Yeah.
Friday. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do it, man. And he can't do it during the day. So it's like, it is what it is. So some of those things I can't do and I won't do. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
could, but I won't because Friday for me, like Friday is like family pizza movie night, and I wouldn't miss
Right.
that for the
Right.
world.
Right.
So
Yeah. That and I that's very respectful, man. And so I meant to say that earlier because I thought that was very, very, it's very
well,
meaningful.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys taking the time out, probably doing it at a time that's maybe not as convenient for you guys. But for me, it's a necessity of keeping the balance. And yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
it comes with a little sacrifice, but I think the benefits far outweigh the negatives. So
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Excellent. Well, so while we're still kind of working our way backwards here in my, so tell us about this one that has premiered, this new cigar Broadway, as
Huh?
as we're lighting up.
Yeah, I've been dying to light this up. So
Yeah, I've got mine ready to go too. So I
yeah.
might as
Okay,
well
so I got
good a
my
time as
little,
any.
and I'm as likely to set my microphone on fire
Yeah.
as I have done that before.
With Justin and
Hey,
his side issues, I've got to watch him when he's lighting stuff on fire because sometimes
Mhm.
it's either the mic or it's me or his self.
Yeah.
listen, there's been a few times I've almost burnt this warehouse down by leaving a cigar lit somewhere, and I go, I can't remember where I put the cigar, and then it's ashing in the trash can, and yeah, I'm dangerous with that.
All right, so
Mm.
talk about the Broadway. Now on another interview, you said this was named after a street in Nashville.
Well, it's actually got a double entendre behind it because we were looking at the analytics, and I hate to sound like that scientific about it, but at some point, like I tell people, you got to turn your hobby into a business. And
Yeah.
so we went back and literally looked at all of our SKUs over like a 1 year period or 18-month period, and categorized them by length and ring, wrapper, varietal, and just to see what was the best selling SKUs. And what one common denominator we found was that people, for Crown Heads at least, bought more of our darker wrap cigars like San Andreas or broadleaf in particular, the Connecticut broadleaf. Like our number one selling SKU is Tennessee Waltz, and it's a Connecticut broadleaf cigar. So when I was thinking about developing a new brand, I said, well, we got to start with broadleaf. And so the Broadway is kind of a little double entendre between broadleaf and Broadway, which is a street in downtown Nashville. And so when people talk about going to Nashville, they go, oh, I want to go down to Broadway. It's kind of be like, it's akin to New Orleans and Bourbon Street. It's where
Oh wow.
all the honky tonks are, where people go and party and listen to music. So it's
It's where I
become,
told you you've got to leave those Broadway girls alone, Justin.
that's it. That's it. Yep.
Morgan Wallen talked about that. So is that now the only other thing I know really about that is there used to be a Fred Stoker's and Sons tobacco there in Tennessee, and
Mm-hmm.
they made something called Beale Street Blend, and it was a pipe tobacco. So
Pipe tobacco.
yeah,
Okay.
so I don't know
Beale
what.
Street is Memphis.
Oh, that's Memphis.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right. So that's
Yeah.
all right. So again, it shows you how little I know. I need to get over there, and a real big support of ours, Big Al, the Howlin' with the Wolf. He's in Tennessee, right?
Yeah,
But
he's in Memphis now. He's outside of Memphis now.
He's outside of Memphis.
He is doing the Lounge Life podcast with Rob from Sticks at the Shore. So I'm sure
Oh,
you'll
great.
pop up on their radar.
Yeah. So just wanted to shout out to Alan and so this is a Connecticut broadleaf. Is that right?
That is, the wrapper is Connecticut broadleaf.
Okay.
Uh,
And then
the binder is a Nicaraguan binder from Jalapa, and then the fillers are all Nicaraguan. There's Ometepe, Jalapa, and Esteli in there, and it's got two ligeros and one viso in there. So it sounds like it's a little
Wow.
more amped up, but as you smoke it, it might start with like a nice peppery kind of thing, but it really evolves into more of a rich, chocolatey, leathery, like dessert cigar is what I call it.
Yeah.
I was about to say I'm getting some of that pepper right here.
Especially
Yeah.
especially through the retro hail, that pepper really comes out. And I tell you, it's just perfect on this kind of cloudy, rainy day. This is like the perfect thing. So in this Broadway that we're smoking in particular, what's your favorite thing to pair this with? Like coffee, bourbon, beer, wine, what have you?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of limited in that regard because I quit drinking a while ago. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's for me, like I smoke all my cigars Monday through Friday at the office, whether I'm developing blends, spot checking existing blends, whatever. It's all happens during the week at my office. I don't smoke at home. So when I'm in the office, all I really pair cigars with is coffee. And that's pretty much it, or just sometimes just water or whatever, or sparkling water.
Now, Sean was saying that there you have an Instagram post where there's a cigar and it's next to a thing of Cafe Bustelo.
We go through a lot of Bustelo here, man. A lot.
Oh, hey man, I introduced Sean to that because the Cuban coffee, it just it's like it was built for cigars. Like someone sat there and says, what can I make, especially for my cigar smokers, and that Cafe Bustelo is
well, Ernesto Perez Carrillo is the one that turned me on to Bustelo. I was down at his office in Miami one time and he's like, hey, bro, you want a coffee? I'm like, yeah. And I was just blown away by this Cuban coffee that they made. And he's like, you got to have Bustelo. And I'm like, what? But yeah, that's the secret to it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So started buying Bustelo at the house and I put a little bit in our coffee each time. And then we found the pods here for this machine. And now we're just on auto ship for Bustelo.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, it's good.
So that's primarily what you use to pair with pretty much any of these cigars.
Yeah, by default, because I don't drink spirits. I mean, I used to, but as I tell people, I had to retire my jersey because I got too good at it. So,
I hear you.
It's just I envy the guys that could like go. I'm going to have on Friday. I'm just going to pair it with this one glass of whatever.
Right.
That's not in my vernacular. For me, it would be one glass, and by next weekend, it'd be one bottle. Yeah, it'd be one bottle. So.
One bottle at a time, kind of thing. Oh yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say. So on the Broadway, was this something that you guys had in mind, or how long did it take for you to come up with a blend you were happy with to put out underneath the Crowned Heads name?
It came pretty quickly because I essentially. When I was working with Noxa, with Gustavo Cura, who runs that operation there, I knew he has access to the best broadleaf. I mean, he does a lot of stuff for Dunbarton and Steve Saka that uses broadleaf. I knew his selection is fantastic. The guy's a tobacco man through and through. He knows what he's doing. They did a brand for us at Noxa called the Patissier. The Patissier I thought was one of the best things that we've done. But I was just like, again, going back to the analytics, we thought, well, maybe the distribution just isn't enough, but it was one of our most widely distributed cigars, but it just wasn't getting the turns. And so I started to look at it from an analytical perspective. And it was just like, is it the name? Is it the branding? Is the font? So all these things that come into the equation of when you're marketing on a retail shelf. And so I said, well, we got to fix it. So I want to kind of use that as a jumping off point, that blend, alter that blend, and then recreate something that's better. And so that's where we started, and that became Broadway.
And it's a fantastic. I mean, we're just into the first third here, and I have to say that, so it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. But man, this is easily could be one of my favorite cigars. You guys have knocked it out of the park here with this. And truth be told, this is the first time I've had a Crowned Head cigars. I waited until Alan Wolf sent me a Meldias.
Mil Diaz, Mil
Yeah,
Diaz.
yeah. But
Mhm.
once we kind of confirmed that we could have you on, so I'm going to wait. I want to enjoy my first Crowned Head cigars with John. So,
Which is why I sent you the Broadway. I wanted to smoke it
yes,
on the show with you guys. I
Yeah.
wanted to
and
see your reaction as we
Yeah.
go.
oh,
So
it's so good.
thank
And
you.
It,
Thank
and
you.
it really strikes a balance between, in my view, there's a nice balance here between dark, say Maduro type taste, and then maybe
Hmm.
like your typical, Connecticut taste. This is almost like right in the middle between the two.
Mm.
and
Yeah,
it,
no, and
my view.
for me, for my palate, like I could, and I have smoked it in the morning with coffee, and you could easily smoke it after a dinner too. It would
yeah,
go well either way.
Yeah.
yeah. I
It's
was
just,
thinking big meaty cigar. It could go good with a big dinner after dinner
hmm,
cigar.
100%, no doubt. And what
Well,
you're smoking is the smallest size. Actually, it's 4 3/4 by 52. That's
okay.
what we're calling that a Robusto Extra. But the other two sizes, I went larger, which is contrary to what I normally like to smoke. But we did
Uh-huh.
an Epicure, which is 5.5 56, and then a Toro, which is 6.5 54. So yeah,
Wow.
you get it's sizes that are popular in the domestic market. For me, if I was again going back to the hobby side of me, I'd be blending everything in a 42 to 48 ring gauge because that's what I really like to smoke. Like the Coronas, the Petite Coronas, the Lonsdales, the Corona Gordas, the Super Coronas, the 5.5 48s. Those are all like what I would gravitate towards. But again, as you turn this into a business, you have to say, okay, how do I do this for what everybody else may enjoy as well? So
Yeah.
Okay.
hence
So
the larger ring gauges.
yeah, and so I wanted to ask you, I wanted to get in again. Uh, so now you have one that pays homage to Eddie Van Halen. Is that right?
We had it.
You
We
had
had it
one.
was
Okay.
actually, yeah. And I believe that was, God, what year was that? Was it 21, maybe 22? I don't know, but it was called Series E. The E
Mm-hmm.
did not stand for Eddie. The Series E stood for Eruption, which is a guitar solo that Eddie
Uh-huh.
did. And I one day I was thinking, I was hearing this solo, and I was like, the trajectory of the solo is very similar to the act of cutting, toasting, lighting a cigar and smoking a cigar. And
I
I
never thought
ran
about
the
that. Right.
you'd have to really go down the rabbit hole like I did. Unfortunately, I went too far down the rabbit hole, and it really didn't translate on a marketing basis. Everybody just dumbed it down to like, oh, that's the Van Halen cigar. And that's exactly what I didn't want. So I learned a big lesson in terms of telling a story and not and making it potentially too complicated. Because I told that story so many times. Like, I
Yeah.
even would play the solo and I say, okay, you hear this? And it's like, and I even ran it by a good friend of mine who lives here in Nashville. He actually plays for Luke Combs, and so
Oh,
he's an incredible musician. I said, all right, so if I did this, what do you think? He's like, yeah, I get it. Well, I mean, Kurt got it because he's a musician, but
yeah.
99% of the people just dumbed it down to like it's the Van Halen cigar. So anyway, we discontinued that brand and we offer it now as an exclusive to I believe brand shoppers. So
Yeah, we got a couple of those from Alan Wolf sent me a couple of those, and
mhm.
the Tender Box out of Hartford, or they sent me a couple of the blood medicines. I cannot wait to smoke those. And I'm a Gordo. I'm a 60 ring gauge guy, and so they sent me the bigger ring gauge on those, and so I cannot wait to try. I've read nothing but fantastic things about that cigar as well.
That one really took off for us. We started Blood Medicine off as an event only cigar some years ago, and I just felt like it didn't really get the trajectory that I was expecting it to as an event only cigar. And so last year I decided, well, more people are asking like, what's it like? What's it? So I'm just going to put it out as a small batch, limited edition, 6 by 52, 18,000 cigars, and see what happens. And the
Yeah.
response was like, I was like, whoa, we might have something here.
Yeah.
So this year we decided to kind of put our foot on the gas and say, okay, let's test the waters a little bit. So we did 700 um, cabinet boxes of 21 in 3 different sizes. So we did like 44,000 cigars, and it sold out like literally in 2 days.
Yeah,
And
I
Wow.
saw that. Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy. So I really the response to that particular blend has been incredible. So
So
yeah, yeah.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
No, I
cut
was
you.
just going to say that's going to become a seasonal release for us that
Okay.
we'll do blood medicine again in 26.
Because I was looking at the band, and so tell me, I'll be honest, because I kind of used my, if this was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, my phone a friend, but how did the name Crowned Heads come about?
The name Crowned Heads came about because the first thing I'll backtrack. So our last days at CAO were December, I believe, the 17th of 2010. And so 4 days later, Mike and I got together and we started talking about, okay, let's figure where we're going with this. What do we do? So one of the first things I was tasked with after that was like, need a company name. And so I literally went home and I'm like writing down all these names, and I would text them to Mike. Some he would like, some I would not like, and vice versa. And then, hey, we'd get to one that we both like. We'd send it to the TM attorneys or whatever, and they would be like, no, you can't use that. I'm like, okay. So one day, like I think it was like Feb by this time of 2011, I was watching The Wizard of Oz on an iPad. And there's one scene in there in that movie where Dorothy is going to visit the Professor Marvel guy. It's all in sepia tone. The side of that caravan where she goes up to meet him, it says Crown Heads of Europe, past, present, and future. I screenshotted it. I texted it to Mike. I'm like, Crown Heads. And he's like, I like that. I said, so do I. And so then the attorney said, yeah, go. I'm like, register it. It's done. And that was it. Because I didn't want like, Huber Condor cigars, Condor Huber cigars. I wanted something that kind of raised the question, like, what is that kind of a thing? And to this day, however many years later, I still get asked about the name. So that was the concept. And the concept from the get-go was always Crown Heads is the band. And then I'm going to release different albums from that band, and they're not going to sound anything alike, and they'll each be different. I wanted that creative latitude because in my previous job at CAO, everything was very CAO this, CAO that, CAO this, CAO that. I didn't want to do that. I wanted something completely different. And that's how we got onto like, Four Kicks. And then the next year was like Headley Grange and JD Howard and then Mil Diaz and, on and on. So, you get that gets you to a certain point where you realize now you're at a different level. Now you got to bring it all together. And that's what the rebrand is about. But to answer your question, that's how we got the name Crown Heads.
Okay.
Yeah, because
excellent.
The blood medicine, the band, I'm a nurse, and so it kind of, it's got that old kind of prescription pharmacy feel.
Exactly. There's a story behind that because our first event only cigar was made at my father's cigars back in 2014 or something. And it was called Snake Oil. And the whole idea was, the old snake oil salesman on the back of a caravan, like this will cure everything, because there was so much BS in the industry at that time. I'm like, this is all like snake oil things. Like everybody's got the next cure all. So I did a little tongue in cheek riff on that. Well, that lasted all of like a month. And then I got a phone call from a retailer saying, hey, we got a problem. And I'm like, what? He's like, did you search the name Snake Oil? And I'm like, yeah, I did. Nothing came up. Well, I registered the mark, and I'm like, have you brought it to Commerce? No. I mean, I could have fought it, but I'm like, you know what? He's like, I'll take a royalty. And I'm like, no, I'll change the name. And so I did.
Really.
So, but it worked out great because there was a restaurant in town on 4th and Broad called Merchants. And it used to be an old pharmacy back in 1870 something. And on the side of the brick wall, it said blood medicine. And so I was in that restaurant and I saw the exposed brick wall, it still said blood. And I did the research and blood medicine. Yeah.
That's excellent, man.
But after Alan told me about kind of where the name came from, he sent me the screenshot from The Wizard of Oz, and it kind of, I thought, I didn't know if that had anything to do with it or not. Cause it kind of,
the blood medicine part.
Yeah.
No, it started off as snake oil, the old, all that. It was the same kind of artistic thing. We just revised it to blood medicine.
All right.
And then yeah.
Okay. So if someone's hearing about your product here and they're going to go to their local tobacconist, will these Broadways be available, or what's available now from Crown Heads that they can go in right now and maybe grab a few sticks?
if somebody's just trying to get into our portfolio right now today, I would probably say look out for anything from Four Kicks to Mil Diaz to Juarez for a value prop type of a thing. There's a lot. We have a lot of brands out there right now. Tennessee Waltz would be a great one too if you want something fuller. But to answer your question on Broadway, we are projecting that it will be on the shelves by the end of next month, by the end of May. I just, in fact, checked with the factory last night. All the cigars have been made. They're resting. All the boxes, the new boxes will be delivered next week. And we are literally just waiting on the print materials, the bands and the shelf talkers. There's a built-in shelf talker for each box. Those are being expedited from Holland on May the 5th.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay,
once they
excellent.
get through customs and everything, it's just a matter of assembling and then shipping. And so hopefully we'll get those out end of May, but maybe first week of June.
Okay.
So not just to kind of bounce around all the place on here, but being in Nashville and a music fan as you are, have you ever thought of having like a Crowned Heads music festival in Nashville?
No, I wouldn't even tip my toe into that water. That's a whole different. I have friends that actually do that, and it's a lot of work, and it's a
Yeah.
lot of. I mean, we kind of on a smaller scale, we sponsor some local music things, like weekly things, Live at the Oak with Raised Rowdy. We've sponsored them for like a couple of years now, just to get our name on the flyers and everything, and they promote the product. But yeah, that's not something I would. I don't like to do anything kind of halfway. It's got to be
Right.
all in or not. And
Right.
I already have a day job, so I don't really
Yeah.
want to get into the
You
music festival business.
Yeah, well, we just had a band, the King Killer. They're from Nashville. They were Mike Lewis and some of the guys are originally from Oklahoma, and so they came up to play Tulsa and they did our show with us and stuff. And we were excited to tell them that we were going to be having you on. And
Nice,
and so
very cool.
Nashville seems to be a big cigar city.
Yeah, it is actually. I mean, man, there's so many great retail spots here. In fact, Josh Dump was just in our office earlier today picking up an order from Smokers Abbey. But Smokers Abbey in East Nashville, you've
Mhm.
got Casa de Monte Cristo in the Gulch, you've got Nashville Cigar in Green Hills, West Nashville, and you've got a ton in between all of that. And there's a lot of cigar lounges. There's a culture here for cigars for sure.
So now at the place that you're at, do you don't sell any cigars out of your Crown Heads?
No, no. And in fact, with more and more tourism coming to Nashville, we pretty much on a weekly basis, we'll get emails to our info asking if they could come take a tour.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
so
was
yeah, so I kind of funnel those and I was like, look, there's a lot of things to do in Nashville, but if you want to see a warehouse, you're more than welcome. But there really isn't. I don't know if people think that we got people rolling cigars here or whatever, but it's just this office here that I share with Tim now, and then a conference room, Adam's office, and then a 3,000 square foot warehouse with a loading dock.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
really it, you know. In fact, at one point, I got that question so much that I literally got on a skateboard with my phone. I rode down through the thing and I posted on Instagram and said, anybody that wanted to see a tour, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish I could still get on a skateboard. I have to get those old like Powell Peralta boards now because I'm to that age where it doesn't feel like it used to.
I still look, man, you're never too old for that. I keep a longboard here, keep one at the house, and
Wow.
sometimes we have a pathway back here that goes for miles. It's like a greenway. And it
Uh-huh.
goes all for like I don't know how long, but it's right by the Cumberland River. So sometimes if I just want to clear my head, I'll just put on my headphones and listen to some music and I'll just skate and just go. And then sometimes at home on the weekends, I'll just skate down the hill a couple of times. So yeah, I still enjoy it.
Are your kids old enough to maybe get them a board or two, and you guys kind of do that and
Well,
outside?
my son he lives in Memphis now, but he's 24. He never was
Oh,
into
okay,
skating
gotcha.
much. But my daughter, who's 9, she loves it, and so she'll get on it. But I'm like the overprotective father, like I don't want her to
Yeah.
fall. I don't want her, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, so typically like she'll ride her bike, and I'll just skate down the hill with her or whatever. Just
Yeah,
for
I'm the
fun.
exact same way. I've got it. My 9-year-old, she just turned 10, Emery, and I have an old Vision streetwear board, and she'll try to get
Mm,
on it, and I'm the same way. I'm like, don't fall, don't fall.
Look
it's
out.
so fun. I get a rush out of it. It's cool.
So when you're sitting back having a smoke, what kind of music do you jam to, and is that different from what you jam to when you're on the board?
The music when I'm, on a skateboard it could be anything that's on my Spotify, but I don't really listen to music when I'm smoking. When I'm in the office, typically when I'm smoking, I'm either doing what we're doing right now, or I'm
Mhm.
working on the business aspect of everything, or responding to emails, texts, WhatsApps. So it's work, and I just happen to be smoking a cigar while I work. So there's not like I'm jamming out or smoking a cigar and having a cocktail. There's none of that. It's unfortunately like I envy people that can sit back and their porch and enjoy a cigar and just kind of. That's not my experience. My experience is more like, okay, what does this need? How's this blend doing? How old is
Right.
this cigar? Let's check. I mean, if I turn this around, you would see like one, two, three, four, five bundles of different blends right now
Oh wow.
Oh wow,
of
man.
of things that I'm spot checking and thinking, and so yeah, it's a job.
It's
It's a job. He said, you look at all those cigars, he's like, it's a job.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, so now you had left CAO before they came out with their pipe tobacco line. Is that right?
I don't remember doing pipes. I think we did do some tins. We distributed some tins when I was still there. I started with CAO in '96 and
Okay.
ran all the way through 2010 when they were basically getting moved to Richmond under the General Cigar umbrella. So
Gotcha.
we did a lot. We did so much stuff in that 14-year period that sometimes Tim will mention something and I'll be like, I forgot we did that. Oh yeah, that's right. You
So
know?
would you guys can you because believe it or not, I'm primarily a pipe smoker.
Hmm.
I
I think Sean mentioned that to me like in a
yeah,
message. Yeah.
so I don't know if you guys at Crown Heads would ever be interested in branching off into that or anything like that. But so I always got to remember my brothers of the briar, because good. But cigars seem to have such a strong. They have such a strong marketing. They have so much. The community that's around it. So it's just not there with pipe tobacco. But so
Yeah,
keep that
I would agree with that. And the fun fact, when I first started with CAO in April of '96, their primary revenue was humidors
Uh-huh.
and meerschaum pipes.
Oh wow.
And so they had just gotten into cigars like the year before, I think. And so anyway, at that point, I was like, well, I'm gonna smoke a pipe. I'm gonna learn how to. So I bought my own meerschaum from CAO, and it lasted like a week. I just didn't have the patience to like use the tamper and all the
Uh-huh.
tools and the this and the that, and then relight it. And I was like, it's not for me. It's just I didn't have the attention span for it. So
That
I was a cigar guy through and through.
I'm
So
same here. I love the enjoyment of the pipe once you get it lit, but it's all
mhm.
that I'd look at my cigars and I'm like, I just can just cut and light that. And
Yeah, and
so
and like Jono used to say, rest in peace, Jono, who started Brown Heads. He's like, the beautiful thing about cigars is they burn, and when
yeah,
they burn, people need to buy more. So it's like
yeah,
yeah, that's true. But
that's
see,
very
yeah,
true.
pipes and humidors tend to last. Once you have them, you have them. So
yeah.
Yeah.
How many pipes do you need? How many humidors do you need? So yeah, that's fortunately we kind of transitioned more into premium cigars, and that's why I'm here actually for
And
sure.
um I I've been enjoying this Bic lighter that you sent. I've
Man,
and I noticed
big life.
when I've watched so is that your primary tool? Is that you always use a Bic lighter when you light your cigar?
Yeah, I've always, truth be told, like ever since whenever it was either a Bic or the Jeep.
Okay.
Um, but I always used because the reason being, like in the late '90s when I first started visiting factories, I would see guys that I read about in the magazines, and none of them had cutters. They just did this or this, and they all had Bics. And I was like,
huh.
why am I getting the super duper triple torch, wada, wada, wada thing, whatever? Nestor Plasencia is using a Bic. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I got I've always used Bics, and then I started seeing the guys at Creekside using Bix, and I was like, that's interesting. And then I DM'd one of the guys at Creekside, and I said, hey, I want one of your lighters. your Bics. I'm collecting them. And they said, I've got one with your name on it. I said, fine, I'll see you in New Orleans. I literally thought they're going to give me a Creekside lighter, but they did these
Uh-huh.
custom lighters with our logo, and you can't read it, but
Wow.
it says, have the best day of your life. Because I always, on the pods and the reels, I always say, hey, keep smoking Crown Heads, keep smoking House Family, and have the best day of your life. So they did these, which is really a cool thing. But yeah, so I've just gotten more into Bics, and then a good friend of mine that I've known for about 8 years, Alexander Berezowski at My Cigar Pack, really knowledgeable guy about cigars. And so we were sitting around one day and he says, no, there's a reason why those guys use Bics. And I'm like, really? And he said, yeah, he goes, it's because a torch will char the tobacco. The temperature is so hot that you're getting that charred flavor and it kind of burns the tobacco. Because but a Bic is just the temperature will not impact the flavor of the cigar. There's a whole scientific process, but it's mostly the temperature of the flame. So that's why I'm on Bics, and so that's why I use them. And I just decided to do a run of Crown Heads Bic sliders. We're not even selling them or anything at this point. I just kind of give them out to friends and family.
That's so awesome. And you mentioned that, and as you were saying that, I was thinking that the initial light on this was smoother than
Mm,
typical with the torch lighter. And
yeah.
it's like you said, it's
Yeah,
starting to
maybe
get
that's something.
those chocolate notes and stuff now. And oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm down beyond the halfway point. Yeah, the pepper has disappeared. We'll kind of go through. Pepper has disappeared. Definitely very almost nutty, kind of leathery. Certainly some chocolate notes, but to me it's more like leather and nut type action.
And
How's that treating you, Sean?
oh, I
What are you
love it.
getting?
Yeah, like I said, the spice was there. And it's just kind of faded away, and it was like a nice transition. It was a nice
Hmm.
transition. I just am excited to see what the rest. I'm gonna have to use. Thankfully, we had some guys from Wood and Waters. There's some veterans. They're a veterans-owned company. They developed a cigar pick, and they sent us one for Justin so he quit burning himself. But,
Oh, where you kind of
yeah,
like stick it through, and you're like, yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen
yeah.
that.
And that way you
Yeah,
can go like to the last draw, you can really
right,
now see some of us, if we had a small pipe, we just put it upside down in the pipe and do it like that.
right.
But still, but no, this is again, this is a great midpoint between say dark oily Maduro and your light and airy Connecticut. Most Connecticut's honestly, I'm not a big fan. It's like smoking air,
Yeah,
but I understand why people, like a mild. But this is
Sure.
this is a great
Yeah.
midpoint. It really
mm,
is. So I'm
thank you. Yeah,
just
no,
happy.
I'm getting like this, like a syrupy kind of maple kind of sweetness on it now at this point.
Ooh.
It's a really savory cigar too. I
Yeah.
think makes your mouth salivate, and the construction at Noxa is like on par. I mean, if you could see that,
Oh
like
yeah.
it's got that like kind of a hat to it. That's just because the ligeros rolled perfectly and bunched perfectly in the middle, so it burns slower. So that's a sign of a really well made cigar, and they've done fantastic stuff. I really think they're awesome. So I'm excited to get it on the shelves. I really am.
I'm excited too. I hope we get some here in Tulsa because I will definitely be buying them up. This could be a daily cigar for me. I'm
Mm,
enjoying the hell of it. So
thank you.
with Tim joining Crowned Heads, and I love the little podcast that you guys do, Oz Heads on YouTube.
Hmm.
Is there
Right.
any plans for maybe an Oz Head cigar in the future?
Hasn't come across the plate yet, not to rule it out, but no, not really. I mean, Tim decided to get back in the business like I think it was 21. And at that point, it was like, okay, how do we bring, at that point, it was called Osgener Family Cigars. How do we bring that brand in and distribute it and not kind of impede on the culture of Crown Heads and what we've established there? So it was kind of like Tim would, do his thing, I would do my thing, but it was all under the Crown Heads umbrella. We distributed and sell together. And then now we're at a point where there's a lot more like kind of crossover where like he'll come to me and ask me like, well, what do you think of this blend and this and that? And I'll ask him, what do you think if we do this size? So we're constantly like kind of conferring with each other. But yet I think Oz Family has its own kind of vibe to it, its own like branding,
Uh-huh.
um, as opposed to what Crown Heads does. So I think we managed to kind of walk the fence pretty well.
Yeah, I would say so. And so you and Tim, you've known each other for quite a while.
Oh
From
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've
CEO.
got it. In fact, I tell this story that if it wasn't for Tim, I probably wouldn't have gotten a gig at CAO because I'd sent the letter to Jono, his dad, and I didn't hear anything back. It was just like crickets. And then I think the story goes that Tim was in his dad's office one day and he saw my letter and he read it and he's like, "Have you called this guy?" And John was like, "No, not really." And he's like, it's obvious he's interested in cigars and he's passionate. He'd probably be pretty good. And that's how I got my first interview with Jono.
Oh wow.
And I mean, it was literally at that point they were still like shipping cigars out of his basement. I mean, it was such a
Oh, wow.
small, yeah, it was a small operation. So I was really on the ground floor of that. But even at that point, like in '96 when I started, Tim was still on the West Coast living in LA, and he was like he was kind of our broker, I guess, of sorts, and he would sell CAO there. But and then I think it was like 98, 99, Tim decided to get full into the business and moved back to Nashville. And so yeah, I've known him for since '96, but really we've known each other like, since probably '98, '99.
Excellent. Excellent. So now I also I have to ask any would you guys ever consider, and I know there's never, this is one of those never say never kind of thing, but would you ever consider anything like flavor infused cigars or anything like that, coffee or bourbon or anything like that?
You guys have a bug in our office or something? No, yeah, yeah, that's definitely being talked about. I'm not going to be coy about it, but it's talked about under like Tim's interested in pursuing that. I'm not personally,
Uh-huh.
like not under the Crown Heads umbrella because it's just not something that I would smoke on a regular. But
Gotcha.
back at CAO, Tim developed a sub brand called Flavors by CAO, which
Oh
did
yeah,
really
they're
well.
great.
Yeah, they did like Moon Trance, Bella Vanilla,
Uh-huh. Oh
Gold
yeah,
Honey,
I love
and
those.
it became a pretty big deal back then. And so he's kind of like dabbling with the idea of, okay, well maybe I'll do another stab at it, and do a different take on it.
But it would have a different brand on it. It might be from
Yeah,
your company, but
it,
it wouldn't be Crown
it
Heads.
no, no, it would not be Crowned Heads.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
it would come under the Oz family umbrella, and it may not even be Oz family flavors or something. He's probably a sub brand of Oz. So he's toying around with the idea, but he thinks that there's something there, especially with the FDA kind of softening their position. He thinks that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, to answer your question, yeah, that's being talked about.
Now I want to ask too, just something to get back to the present too. So, are do you anticipate, or has it have the current tariff situation, has that affected your production or buying power, anything of that sort? Has that affected you guys any?
We're definitely going to be talking about it. It's on our radar, obviously. How can it not be?
Right.
And I've seen Roma Craft and Perdomo within the last week announcing, price increases due to tariffs. Um, right now, we're not doing anything. That's not to say we wouldn't look at it a little bit closer in the next couple of weeks. Right now, it's just 10% everywhere.
Okay.
Initially, when it was first announced, I believe it was like 10% in DR, 18 in Nica or Honduras, and then 19 in Nica or Honduras. So it was substantial. But then Trump put the pause on it and said, okay, the next 90 days is just going to be 10%, except for China. China's still
Yeah.
143.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Just I know that's on everyone's mind, and I always like talk to guys like yourself. I always like to see kind of what it's like on the ground. Because the media will spin it one way, and then they'll say it's another way. Everybody has their own take, but you guys
We
have to
do
deal with it.
we do a lot of, because Sean's wearing one of them, our hats.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do a lot of headwear as a gift with purchase. That's been very successful for us over the years. So I design all the hats, and the source that I get the hats from they're imported from China.
Uh-oh.
And so when that first got announced, like the first tariff was like 30 something, then it went to 50 something. This was a while ago. And then eventually 143. So I contacted the owner of the company that I do business with, and I said, "Hey, I'm kind of freaking out here. What's going to happen?" And he's like, "You're freaking out." I'm like, "This." He's like, "This is my livelihood."
Right.
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 So I've seen the impact through him, how it can affect a business owner that does business with China. And truth be told, a lot of the accessories that are in our industry cutters, the lighters, those are all manufactured for most part in China. So I don't know what those companies are doing or how they're going to absorb it, but I can say that like with our headwear company, he's had to actually relocate production to a different country.
Wow.
Oh,
Um,
just to
so it just to survive, to get through. So I've seen how it impacts people, and it's been tough.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and your hat game is second to none, man. I love
Thank
when you
you.
release those hats, and you do them
Thank you.
enough of a limited release. It just keeps people eating them
It's
up.
fun, man. I'll show you something real quick, but it's fun. This file that I have here, this
Oh,
right
wow.
here.
Yeah,
This is literally every hat I've ever produced. It's also ones that are in the design queue, and there's ones that we've ordered, and that's how much we do. In fact, I have a guy in Oregon who tells me and he literally buys like almost every hat we do. And he says he has over 209 of our hats, different
oh wow.
hats in his
Wow.
collection now. So I didn't realize I did that many, but yeah, so it's fun, dude. It's just another creative outlet for me. I've always loved hats since I was a kid. So now to be able to design and create and put them out there, it's fun.
Right.
And,
So
and you put out a good quality hat. I've received a few hats from other cigar manufacturers, and they're just not the quality that you guys produce, and so that
That has to do with the source, really. I mean, when I found the company we work with in 2017, there's a local rep that came in and he basically put out all these samples, and I was like, wow, these are really nice, And he's like, yeah, and you can design everything. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you can pick the color of the eyelet, the crown, the visor, the embroidery, the closure. I was like, you and I are going to become really good friends.
yeah,
And so, yeah, now we're like probably, I think we're one of his biggest clients in terms of
yeah,
what we order every month. But
but
it's a blast.
but to be clear, so right now they're only available like a gift with purchase. Like you can't go to a website and go through crowned heads hats and
Yes, you can. You
Oh,
can.
good. Okay.
So years ago, when we started that, we called it the hardware store online. So if you go to crownheads.com and click on store, you can buy like, lithograph posters. You can buy sometimes t-shirts or sweatshirts if we have them, and then headwear.
yeah,
But I did
Excellent.
that not to be a huge revenue generator. I just said, okay, I want to establish the value so that when somebody goes to the store, they know that, okay, this hat would normally retail at $40. So you have to establish a value to the gift with purchase. Otherwise, it's just like, oh, it's just a hat, whatever. So, but that's really kind of taken off for us to the point where like I'll put a portion of the shipment online for purchase, and the last three, I think, have sold out in a day.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
So
yeah,
yeah, it happens really quick. And I always get the DMs like, what happened? I missed it. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, it is
yeah.
what it is. You got to
It
get
is.
it. You don't get it. I mean, everybody's got the same shot at it. So I always post when they go live. And then from that point, it's just kind of like, a day or two before they're all gone.
Is
And
that
then
is
we,
that al- is that also the thinking behind? Because I noticed in your lineup there are a lot of like limited edition cigars. Is
mhm.
that kind of the same thinking that goes into that? You
Well,
kind of
with
create.
the hats, what I didn't want to do is like a lot of companies I saw would just get like this stock dad hat and put their logo on it and put it in
Yeah,
three different
Right.
colors. I'm like, that's not a representation of the brand. I wanted to create something that even if you weren't smoking cigars, you'd still want to wear it.
Right.
And so the quality, number one, was the most important thing, and then the design. I wanted to design stuff that I would wear, and that's why, and I made a decision also, don't repeat the same design or colorway twice. So everything, when I drop it, it's literally a limited edition. You may see that same design, 2 or 3 months later, but in a different colorway. But I don't do the same thing over and over and over. So every hat's really truly an LE. As far as the cigars go, we're known for limited editions, but I also think that a lot of them are just like legacy seasonal releases, like a Four Kicks Mule Kick that we've done over the years, or Las Calaveras, and Now Blood Medicine. But we don't, just do one-off things for the sake of doing it. It's all planned out the year ahead of time. So,
Okay.
um,
Gotcha.
but I found like really kind of like around 2014 is when I saw the shift in the market, and I'm like, I told Mike, I'm like, look, we either evolve with the market or we get left behind. So I see a lot of brand owners today, some that are very staunch about like, I'm just going to build this brand brick by brick, and I'm not going to do all these stupid limited editions. And I'm like, great. Being proud and broke sitting in the corner is no way to go through life. So if
Right.
you want to turn
Right.
this into a business, give the people what they want, give them something new. And retailers are appreciative of it because they're like, we love what you guys do because it brings people to the store. They're like, hey, do you have the new Crown Heads Mule Kick? Do you have the new 2025 Las Calaveras? So yeah, it's a necessity, but it's also just a sign of the times. People want limited edition stuff.
Yeah.
It's collect, you know what I mean?
And they do, because
Excellent.
I see it on with whoever it is, Tinderbox or Sir Louis. I mean, when you release one of those limited edition cigars, they seem to fly out the door
That's
pretty
the whole
quick.
intent. The trick of it really is to not overproduce something. So even if the blend's great and you know you could sell 5,000 boxes, you have to have the discipline and restraint to say, I'm just going to release 1,500. And that way you do it again next year, and then the demand is still there. But if you flood the market with something, I've seen people try that and it just doesn't work well. So it's a fine line, but I enjoy the LEs. It's a lot of work
Yeah.
because as I used to tell this to Mike when Mike was still here, but he'd be like, "Oh, just do whatever." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you don't realize that whether I'm doing 5,000 cigars for Hawaii or 100,000 cigars for Las Calaveras, it's the same work list that you have to do. You have to create the blend, validate the blend, design the packaging, order the packaging, all of these things that most people just kind of take it for granted. But it's a process, and it's just as much work to do a small 5,000 cigar run as it is for 50,000 cigars.
Hmm. Yeah. See, I've a lot of, smokers just, going, walking in the store. See, that's something we would never really think about. We would always, I mean, it just doesn't occur. So I'm glad to hear you say that, because yeah, limited or no, I mean, it's kind of the same workload for you guys.
It is. It is a workload for sure. And like I said, usually like in October of the previous year is when I start working on the next year and at least mapping it out. Like, okay, Q1, we're going to do this, whatever, Q2, Q3, Q4. This year's is actually going to be even more kind of, turned up a little bit because I found out that in order to do our packaging in Holland, I need to have everything for the 2026 PCA release in April of next year done and ready to go by summer.
Wow.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I'm actually working on a new regular production release for 26, but I don't even have the branding or anything, but I know the tobaccos I want to use. I know the factory it's going to come from, but there's always that pressure there to, you've got to think further ahead. It's not just right now. It's like you're working 18 months out sometimes.
Wow. Okay. Again, yeah, I would imagine that is because it takes so long for production, so long for quality control and all that kind of stuff. And
Materials are a big thing too.
Yeah.
Like if like right now I have a limited edition I'm doing in August. I've got to order the bands like probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks to make sure that the rings get there on time so they can package everything so that we can stay on these timelines. So there's a lot of, you know, the nuances to the business that most people probably wouldn't recognize.
oh yeah, I gotcha. So I'm getting down to the last third of this
Yeah.
here, and I tell you one of the things that I notice that a lot of times that when I'm at this point in a cigar, it gets really soft in my fingers.
Yes.
It
The
it
Mm-hmm.
construction of this is just
this one
unbelievable.
has just stayed true to form. Like I think, I bet if I smoked it right down to the tip, it would stay this. I mean, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
That is a real sign of quality that it has stayed, consistent. The draws and the flavors consistent, and again, doesn't get soft in your hand, as you're starting to finish up.
Well, what you're smoking was done months ago, probably 3 months ago for the show, and they've been aging and resting since then. Because again, going back to giving a lot of credit to the factory, to Noxa, to Gustavo, he's like, Johnny, you got to figure out this blend so that we have enough time to let him rest because broadleaf needs more time. All these things that I
Ah,
know, and so yeah, so you have to be ready for it. And so I've every Broadway I've smoked, whether it was pre-release or at the show or even now post-show, I have had zero issues. They've all been like
Yeah.
100% on, which is a testament to Noxa, really.
oh yeah, excellent. Yeah, I just I really noticed stuff like that, and the texture of the wrapper again has just been excellent. Um, texture's a little more rough than I was initially thinking, but then I remembered it was broadleaf, and so that
Hmm.
to be, but that's the kind of things I noticed. Like honestly, um, a lot of your, what you're talking about, like with the brands, like the logos and stuff like that. I need a magnifier to see all that. So a lot of times I don't really pay that much attention, but definitely the construction is just spot on. Um, and so like I had an idea. I don't know if you guys could do this or not, but I've often thought that Cigar should, like, one of the bands should be have a QR code on it,
Hmm.
and that way I could scan it, and then it would tell me, it would go someplace and tell me, like, okay, what is it? Like, this is a Toro Maduro kind of thing, and then all that. And honestly, I only mention that because that would make my life a lot easier, because a lot of times I'll have a bunch of cigars in the humidor, and literally sometimes I have to like say, Sean, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, what,
Yeah.
what is this a Habano, or is this Connecticut, all this kind of stuff. So I'll just throw that one to you. Maybe
You're on point, because it's a great idea, and a lot of brands are actually doing that now. I mean,
oh,
I've
is that
seen
right?
that. Yeah,
Okay. I haven't seen that
I'm
yet.
just a little bit more old fashioned, and I just don't really want to see a QR code on, it's like
Yeah.
everywhere you park your car, you got to have a QR code. It's like,
Right.
it's almost like saying everybody has a phone, and I'm like, I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to give up the ghost. I, I just can't imagine the Cubans putting a QR code on a Cohiba or something. So yeah, it's a great idea. I get it. It's not for me at this point. Not to say we wouldn't do it eventually, but yeah. And Justin, I will say that, I told Sean this kind of briefly, but I think the fact that your vision isn't 100% or whatever is actually interesting to me, because it enhances your other senses. Like you mentioned, how the texture of the wrapper, and you're smoking, and you are literally like just enjoying the cigar and the flavor profile, as opposed to somebody that would smoke this cigar and go, wow, the band looks awesome. It kind of almost like prejudices you towards wanting to like that cigar more when the cigar's banned in a certain way. So for you to say these nice things, it means more to me, because I know that you're really smoking the cigar, and the flavor profile, and your other senses, your taste, your touch, are more enhanced than mine would be. So
Yeah.
it's a big
Yeah.
compliment. I appreciate that.
Oh, and I appreciate the kind words. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely what's called a deconstructionalist. That, like when
Hmm.
sometimes, like when you read a book, like if you don't know, if you never heard the author, you don't know the time period or anything. A lot of times, all you have is the text right there in front of you. Is that
Right.
text good? And so
Right.
I'm a deconstructionalist smoker, right? The bands, and I love the swag, by the way. I ask about the hats and stuff too.
Yeah.
I love all that. But yeah, when it comes down to it, it's just you and this stick. And what is it got? What is it going to do? And all that. And again, I love the flavor is consistent. I'm
Very
really down
consistent.
to
Yeah.
the
Thank you.
You're
and it has really, I mean, it's, the only thing that's gone is the pepper. The pepper disappears real quickly, but the
Mm.
rest of it, the nuttiness, the leather has stayed right on
yeah.
point. And sometimes when you get down to this low, they get a little harsh, and this
Hmm.
one doesn't.
It's
This
yeah.
one is
That's
just the same as it.
Yeah, it's got a clean finish. I
yeah.
enjoy
Very
that as
clean
well.
finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And that's one of the things that I really, this is probably one of the best constructed cigars that we've smoked on the show, as far as
Thank
from
you.
start to finish, and I couldn't have enjoyed it anymore. I mean, like I said,
I appreciate that.
I definitely, I'm excited to dive into the rest of the cigars that I have from Crowned Heads, because this is, I can just imagine what the rest of them are going to be like. And
Well, if there's anything you want to try that you can't get your hands on, just send me a message. I'll be happy to. If we have it in stock, I'll be happy to send you samples so you can enjoy it. So
oh,
I
that'd be
appreciate that.
so, yeah, that'd be so awesome.
Don't
Um,
ask me for blood medicine though, because
yeah.
I don't have any.
Hey,
Blood medicine.
we've got a couple of them, but we're gonna save those for a special occasion. We might do a whole standalone show just on those, because
I'm literally at the point where, like, people are generous and kind enough to send me my own cigars.
Oh, really?
It just,
Wow.
yeah, it just happened. I mean, a good guy, a nice guy in, I believe Charleston, just sent me a care package, and I thought maybe he was sending me like Fuente Padron, but it was like Las Calaveras 2015. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't had that in so long. It's my favorite cigar, blah, blah, blah. Send me some Headley Grange. It's just nice. It's cool. But yeah, I'm not a big saver in terms of like, I don't like stockpile cigars, and I should, but I don't. I just feel like cigars are made to be smoked. So once in a while, somebody sends me something from 10 years ago, it's kind of nice to be able to go back and my memory banks and smoke that one.
So do you guys have any plans to branch out like your own like say humidors or I don't know if you do, I don't know. So in my audience probably, do you guys have your own cutters and lighters and stuff like that, or do you plan to get into that?
We've done some accessories in terms of like gift with purchase stuff, like these paleo cutters. We've done those in the past, and like the big lighters.
Uh-huh.
We've actually done some lighters with I think VSOL or something, but not like on a big scale where we would sell them and everything. Just leave that for the accessory companies.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Right.
don't know if Zycar would ever come out with their own cigar. I would hope not, but
Yeah.
I'm just but yeah, it's fun to dabble in that a little bit, just as a gift with purchase thing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, John, I know we're getting to kind of the end of this, and I just want to thank you so much for
been my pleasure.
years
Absolutely.
and taking the time to come sit down with us, sending us some probably the most fantastic cigars we've ever been sent. The
Thank you.
Broadway from Crowned Heads is definitely a must. If call your retailers and tell them you want this stocked, because I think it's going to fly off the shelves, man. It's just
Thank
a
you.
fantastic cigar.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's a good price point too. I believe it's 11.95 to
Oh
12.95
Is
for the
that
wow,
right?
stick.
that is
So
Wow.
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's so Norma at this point. So how where can people find you? If you want to give you any of your social media shout outs or website shout out.
Yeah. Real
Yeah.
simple. The website obviously is crownedheads.com. I'll tell you now, it's a terrible website. Needs to be updated. We haven't done anything with it since 2012.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah,
I'll tell
it's
my
on the list of things to do. So
my
I
my
understand.
wife just started. She does websites and stuff. She just started her own Dirty Birch Media. So I'll tell her to take a look at it, see if she.
oh, she'll tear it apart. But we're working with a guy locally that we're going to revamp it. As far as
Okay.
social media, the only two things I'm on right now are, I guess they're calling it X, which is
Yeah.
Twitter, which I don't do a lot of, but it's thecrownedheads.com.
The
The Crown Heads, CROWNED heads.com, or The Crown Heads. And then on Instagram, which I'm a little bit more active on, it's also The Crowned Heads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, but I think they're pushing me towards getting on Facebook. I've had some requests to do that. So in my spare time, I'm going to try to figure out how to navigate Facebook, I guess.
Yeah.
But the best way is just to contact me through Instagram. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny, people send messages and like, who is this? I'm like, my name's John Huber. Like they expect somebody else somewhere else to
Right.
be answering all these, but it's me. I'm on there. So if anybody
Yeah.
wants to send me a message or have a question, I try to do my best to respond to everybody.
Yeah, you do a great job with your Instagram. Probably one of the more active cigar guys on there, and that's good to see, especially
Thank you.
with having such a good product to be pushing, and we'll definitely be pushing it because
Appreciate it,
like
man.
I said, it's just been an honor to spend the afternoon with you and get to enjoy my first Crowned Head cigars with you, and the Broadway could not, like I said, man, you got to leave those Broadway girls alone, Justin.
Oh man, oh man, I know, and that is, and again, I again I appreciate it. Guys. Again, it's a real halfway point for me. I would say it's a medium bodied,
Yeah.
not medium. You hear a review, they always say medium to full, medium to full. This one is a solid medium, and I can appreciate it, especially kind of the early afternoon like this. I mean, and with the clouds and the rain, it's just perfect. And so just really been enjoying that with that. And yeah, this has been just a great time. And I knew it would be because honestly, John, I saw your interview that when I mentioned earlier from Sticks at the Shore, and I knew I said he's going to fit in right here on Smokin Sounds.
Yeah,
because
Thank you.
we're just basically literally we're two dudes doing this in a garage.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying? I mean, the car hole lounge, baby.
Yeah.
So that's we love that, and so
Appreciate it.
so do you know if any of your people come this far, like to Tulsa and to around there? Because we'd love to catch up.
Yeah, I think Brian, we have an in-house representative that's been with us for 11 years now, Brian McGee, great guy. I've known Brian for 20 some odd years, but Brian reps us, and I believe he covers Oklahoma.
Okay.
They're constantly shifting territories on me, so I
Yeah.
have to go back and fact check that, but it's probably either Brian or Jake, one of the two. But we do have people that go out to Oklahoma for sure.
Well, definitely let us know when they're going to be in town. We'd love to meet them and maybe do a little interview, but just like to meet them and stuff. And
Absolutely.
just kind of get the lay of the land and all that, and kind of see how everything's going. And I'm just real sure next year we're going to see you at the PCA.
Yeah, we can't wait to.
Absolutely.
And if we're in Nashville, maybe we can stop by and do a quick skateboard tour of the warehouse.
Please do. Mi casa, su casa, for sure.
Well,
You're welcome anytime, man. Absolutely.
I will.
Well, again, John,
I will walk behind.
Yeah.
Skateboard's not for me.
Yeah.
It's a very fast tour, I will tell you that.
Well, again, thank you so much for the Broadway.
Been my pleasure.
For
Absolutely.
Being such an awesome individual and making such a fantastic cigar. We thank you so much for being on Smokin Sounds. And yeah, I guess, Justin, this is where we tell them they can find us at Smokin Sounds Pod. And you want to do that so you never miss a beat
or a draw.
So that's a wrap on this episode. Thank you again to John Huber from Crowned Head Cigars. And guys, check him out, crownedheadcigars.com. Follow him on Instagram. You will not regret it. And we'll see you next time on Smokin Sounds. All right, we got it recorded.
Hey, man, appreciate
you. Thanks, guys.
John,
appreciate the time, man.
Oh, thank you so much. And we look forward to hopefully doing this again in the future. And
anytime. Anytime, just hit me up. I appreciate you taking the time out for sure. 100%.
Oh, no.
So,
yeah, and again, I can't wait to try the other cigars that I have in there in the humidor. So, have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you, man.
And thank you again for your time. And we'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure to meet you guys.
All right. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.